Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always, joined by my good friend, wonderful co-host, Sacking Finch. How you doing, mate?
A combination of really, really tired and really, really manic because I'm really, really tired, which will hopefully get us through an episode talking about us going against one of the better teams in the league and be hopefully being able to provide some level of entertainment as opposed to just being horrifically depressed at the prospect of, playing Man City or whatever TLDR you want. Yeah, fine. There you go. Much better.
Look, the press conference is in. We've had the team news. We've been told there are no injuries, and we're fully fit for all of the credit we give that. And look, we talked on the podcast before last week about how we take nothing from those actual words, right? So, I mean, I don't know, mate. What do we do heading
It's
into
a bit of a weird presser. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's like, what was you meant to do? What am I meant to do? Announce stuff over the tannoy? And I'm like, no. And I can't really doubt the words he was talking about, the skullduggery, right? Like, we've always talked about the fact that why would no one in a press conference is going to go out and be like, well, yeah, he has gone, like, Matty Fernandez went on a holiday, so he went on a trip to see his family, so he might be a bit tired tomorrow, so I don't know how long I'm going to play. Like, that isn't, but for me, it does kind of defeat the object in what's the point of a press conference then? If it's just going to be like 25 minutes of lying, like, or in Church's case is like 3.
yes, yes, no.
Yes, no. Yes, no. It's kind of, I guess like they have to do that bit right, and it's all about build up to the game, and I can understand. I think again, it's just like a consistent underestimating of the vitriol that you are going to face when your team has been this bad, and like I think that even anything that could be slightly perceived as sort of not aggression, that's the wrong word. Anything that could be sort of seen even slightly as palming off the fans is going to get an annoyed reaction from fans because they get paid to sit where they are. We have to pay to sit where we are. I think that's always going to be the big divide. And fans should never rule the roost. But ultimately, we're going to be here long before we're here long before they ever join the club, and we'll still be here long before the club they've left. So. Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place. It's good that they were upset and frustrated. I don't know how much cadence I take from the fact that they want to end the season on a high, starting with Man City. I'm like, do you know what? If you'd started it with Leicester, would have been a lot easier.
Mate, if we just started it back in August, like,
what do you mean? We had that like penalty against Newcastle. Which we missed, right? No, the red card. Dan Burn got sent off as Dan Burn.
Yeah,
like it's why all Newcastle fans hate Brereton Diaz, right?
Yeah,
and like even mugged us off when we got relegated because they didn't like him, and it's like, mate, he's not even our club anymore. Who knows where he's going to be next season? But you're right.
If an off with a high where we, performed for 60 minutes and still lost, which really set the scene for where the rest of the season was headed.
I just think that for me, all of this like press conference today and all of the talk around the City game, it just massively shows the size of the job that anyone that's coming in is going to have to deal with. And I don't know if you've seen today, Alfie House was talking about how Raul's been in Germany. He's been talking about how he wants to manage in the Bundesliga or alternatively the Premier League.
Yeah.
So that's now what? Raul, who probably, basically, if he gets a job in the Bundesliga offered to him or Premier League, is probably not going to come to us. Liam Rossigna, who's signed a new contract with Strasbourg, but has said, I'll happily go to the Premier League. It is that whole kind of thing where I don't know what it is about the fact that we seem to think we're going to get all of the candidates that we want, and that we're being funny about the candidates we want, and like most of them. Yeah, I'm going to look at Southampton realistically as an attractive prospect. It's almost like we want a Premier League manager. Now we've gone down, rather than when we went up. because we can talk about the past and we can talk about mistakes made and decisions could have been better. And you think about back to the sort of Atkins and being sacked off, and then Pochettino coming in and us being really mad about it, but it being a really shrewd decision at the time. We can have all of these sort of conversations, but ultimately it's a moot point. We're going to have to look at in sort of 2 to 3 weeks' time who is actually going to be available. Obviously, once the championship season fully comes to an end and those managers can then do whatever, I think it will get a little bit more spicy and a little bit more interesting. But I just think we are such a project, and I think that you really want to have somebody that's motivated for that. And I do worry, about a lot of the people we're being linked with. I keep using the word sort of young and ambitious, but the problem with that ambition is that ambition outstrips Southampton a lot of the time. that's kind of my worry. And then I'm also seeing people now happy to settle for sort of, okay, here's a question for you, Greg: Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, or Gary O'Neill?
No thanks.
No, but if you had to pick one, because the amount of people I've seen that would be happy to have Frank Lampard because he's done well with Coventry, quite a lot more than I'd expect. But we might end up in a position where those are like our realistic choices, and that's I
mean, gun to head, Steven Gerrard, because maybe my wife would come and watch more games with me.
And again, this is why I hope for some like complete outlier from the K-League none of us have heard about, where I ended up having to do an entire like the research episode I did in Spores, where there's just no information on the guy. So you have to dig deep into like articles that are years old, or what in Spores' case, his literal LinkedIn profile. Like having to watch videos that he'd done like a year ago to try and understand what the guy might be like. So but I know that's a lot to that I've just said in words to talk about a press conference for a game potentially we've got tomorrow.
Right,
None of it's really about the press conference, but that's because they're annoyed and they want to try and do well.
Situation though, isn't it? Like regardless of how these games go, that's not really where people's focus or thoughts are.
No, I think that's the problem.
If it's not the fans' focus and thoughts, how can we possibly expect the players to have that focus?
It's a very, very good point, and I think it's my only counter to that, mate, is the fact that they're paid a lot of money, a truckload of money to do the job that they have to do, and
it hasn't worked the rest of the season. That's not going to suddenly kick into gear now, is it?
You're right. You're right. They're still going to get paid either way. So, but it is one of those things where, like, what motivation do you need? I'm like, I don't know, the thousands of pounds you're being paid to do your job, but. It's probably, there are a multitude of factors at play here, for sure. But you're right. I think that there can't be a focus on it as much as we'd like there to be, because it's nothing to play for anymore. And you're right, it's pre-season. Previously, I said I thought that the points record was super important. I just don't think it is anymore. Like now we've matched the joint worst Premier League team of all time. It's not as bad as being the worst. So it is what it is.
Is being the worst team in history on goal difference just as embarrassing?
I think that
be embarrassing enough to score less points had to do it on goal difference.
We're there for a reason. Is where I'm at. Like we've had opportunity to not be that. I was hoping that would be enough of a motivation to get them all playing again. We've seen like weird sparks where somehow for like a game or half a game we'll put a performance together and then it will collapse and the mentality breaks. And again, I think just everyone at the club is exhausted. Players alike, staff alike, fans specific, like especially so, unsurprisingly, because I can't help but rave enough about the fact that we, people can mug off our support and be like, oh, it's not like Newcastle and stuff like that, or it's not like, it's not like but it's like, mate, we're still going up and down the country, like week in, week out, to watch to every away game to watch. You hear us singing, it's mad, and the self-deprecating humour is obviously a very, very British way of dealing with it all, and we do it very, very well. And I just think that, all I can hope for is that off the back of this, they still want them to believe and they still hope they can get something. And I think that if my expectations are so low when we get to sport predictions that anything above that is better, that can mean that I only have a good Saturday regardless of result, right? But we'll get to that once we talk about some lineups later.
Yeah, okay, well let's move on to team lineups, but first a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we are back. All right. We sucked against Leicester, right? We were awful. Now, that was a team that previously, I think we would both agree, has probably been our best 11. The options off the bench didn't fill us with confidence. So, what's your lineup looking like for tomorrow?
It's going to be the same, right? Like, the entire point of this was to... Russ talked about in the presser, like trying to get our average goals conceded from 3 to like he's got it down to 1.5. That's massive. I'm like, that 1.5 is still more than 0. It's a really weird like sort of place to be, but I guess on paper that's progress.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the sort of discussion around Wellington and him not really getting a chance, and not because they think he's good. It's to have the kind of the stability of what's going to be Ramsdale, Manning, Stevens, Benderek, Harwood Bellis, and Carl Walker-Peters at the back.
Manning had a rubbish game, and Stevens had a stinker. Just bin him off and put 2 more strikers on. It doesn't matter,
Just
right?
go forward back, yeah?
Yeah, look, right. We have played 5 at the back and 2 holding midfielders and consistently conceded 3 goals. So if you just accept that Man City are probably going to score 5, the plan becomes, don't worry about that, just try and score 6. Let's play 11 attackers and just have the most incredible game of football you've ever seen.
11. I don't even think even if we put 11 attackers on the field, mate, we'd still get a shot off, if I'm totally honest. They would all want to pass it to each other. Maybe they're too kind to one another. But okay, so back to the realistic lineup. So it's going to be the back 5 when we like it or not. It's going to be Downs and Ugachukwu in the middle of the park because we're not going to change that. Aribo hasn't had a look in since Ruska's been in. Literally, I think it was like started pretty much every game up to that point, and then just hasn't even been in and around the team.
Not in anywhere, right? Centre back.
He wants Fernandez to be, playing a pivotal role. So Fernandez starts. We know that.
Yeah.
Sulabada will start.
I mean, you can't not start Fernandez after 45 minutes of chanting his name. That would be absolutely ludicrous.
So if we've got Fernandez and then we've also got Sulabada, who have we got up front? It's just going to be a choice between Paul and Stuart. Probably Stuart again. I do feel bad for him. I saw some of the interview or some of the conversation around his sort of dark, lonely days on the training field and trying to get himself back from injury. And it's
gone from dark, awful. Lonely days on the training field to dark, lonely days stuck at the top of the pitch with no one willing to pass you the ball.
Well, yeah, like you can see the frustration being at. And I don't know if it's just because like Paul's really tall, so then they just think to kick at him because they're like, oh, it must hit him, and because Ross isn't as tall as Paul, despite the fact he's got good hold-up game. Like maybe they just like, oh, well, if I hit it to him, he might not get it. You don't know if it's just like a psychological thing at this point, or it's just the fact that we weirdly reverted to some sort of like Russell Martin ball last week, right? And then it just kind of showed why that doesn't work for us either. So yeah, like lineups wise, I don't see why they would change it. And you'd think, well, we had such a bad game last game, they'll have to change it. I'm like, I still don't see. This is the whole thing, right? Like his whole thing at the moment is stability over anything else.
Just getting horrible flashbacks to Russell Martin being in charge, like just.
Do you not remember? This is very similar. Again, it's history repeating itself. It's very similar to Hasenhüttl being here, him going, Jones coming in for a couple of days, him being replaced by Sellis, and then like Sellis trying to do sort of Hasenhüttl ball, but not really, but basically doing it, except without the level. And that's the problem, is they're trying to get them back to basics, but we're also very aware that they all now have this kind of ingrained thing in them to play out from the back badly. And occasionally they're just going to do that. So yeah, it's difficult, and it's even more difficult because you can see they talk about the amount of preparation they put into each game, and that every week starts afresh. But then they go into the game, and you wonder, like, do they prepare to play the way that they play, or does it all just collapse at the first sort of 10 to 15 minutes? If you're a manager at that point and you've set up your team to play a specific way, and they just stop doing what you've asked them to do, and you have no authority, because especially if you're an interim manager, what do you do to deal with that, I guess, is my question. And I think that's the problem at the moment, is that we lack an identity. We've had a couple of games where we've been really hard to play against. We've had a couple of games where, well, they don't look like they should be at the bottom of the Premier League with like 3 points for like 80 minutes, and then we'll show why, because someone will score and then it will just become a goal fest. So it's really difficult to predict positively a game against a significantly stronger side than us, when the entirety of the history of this year and this season, it goes against us, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think there'll be any changes? What changes, well, I guess, would you like to see? Because I'm very firm in the fact they're probably going to keep it the same, because why would they not?
Look, I really hate playing with a back five. I'd like to see us swap to a back four. I don't see him dropping Stephen. So I don't know. I think you're right. I don't think anything will change. It'll just be the same, and then because of that, we'll probably get beat 8-0. Whereas if we've made a bit, maybe take off Harwood Bellis, sack off Manning, and play a back four with I don't know, Yuki, I guess.
Well, you'd move Carl across to the left, and you'd move Yuki to the right.
Yeah.
And again, like, he's not really had a bit of a look in the team since Rusk's been in.
No.
And it's interesting to see as well, like, between the three managers that we've had in charge this season, because we've had three managers in charge, who have sort of been their favourites and who they've decided to play and who are getting spots in, week out. Because, like, again, Sulemana barely got a sniff under Martin, but despite, in a couple of people's opinions, being a lot poorer, both the tail end of the season, after having a bit of a resurgence, he still managed to keep his place as well. So it's very, in my opinion, interesting to see who of the managers, and who of the three managers we've had, who they specifically like to play. And you wonder at the moment, with Rusk being in, like, is he playing? We've discussed this before as well. Is he playing the strongest team to get the most points, or is he playing people he knows are going to be here next season?
Well, I don't think it's that, because I think there are quite a few players in that starting 11 that won't be here next season.
Yeah.
So
I think originally we both
think it is playing what he thinks is the strongest 11, and honestly, the upsetting thing is, as easy as it is to shout out for change, I don't see an obvious way to make that starting 11 better from what we've got available. It's just, I don't know.
Ultimately, I think it's the same thing we say all season, mate. We're just not good enough, and that's just the reality of the situation. We're not good enough, and that's due to a multitude of reasons. You can put it down to a combination of poor recruitment, poor management, poor club management, at least on the footballing side of things. It's the same stuff week in, week out that we say is a combination of things that have got us into the position that we're currently in. I just hope that it isn't ruthlessly put on display against a Manchester City side that supposedly, quote unquote, are having a rough season. That's all we can hope for, realistically.
Yeah, it could be one of those days where they sniff blood in the water and just absolutely annihilate us.
Or, maybe the optimism that you usually have could actually come out, and somehow we get like a 0-0, and that would be considered a massive result.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's move on to that. Let's get into our actual score predictions. But first, a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okay, so we are back. Zach, as always, I'm going to throw you under the bus first, my friend. What are you thinking?
Well,
how big are we going?
If Haaland wants to match or even surpass Mo Salah, he's going to need to score another 7 goals. So to match him, if he scores 8 goals, he surpasses him. If he comes back tomorrow and plays against us and gets those 8 goals, that would be good. An 8-0 loss isn't as bad as a 9-0 loss. Nah, probably like 4-0 or something. Maybe Haaland scores 1 or 2, but like I could. It depends. Like we'll either be able to drag out a board draw if we just defend the way that Russ wants us to defend, and everything goes into just not conceding and give up the idea of even scoring a goal. Because if we're struggling this much for attacking opportunities against teams like Leicester, coming up attacking opportunities against City, it's really going to be like the sort of one-off chances we're probably going to get, like what Archer had at like Arsenal and stuff like that, right? Except I just don't think that any of our strike force have the confidence at the moment to get those goals. So that's why I would say if we're lucky, best case scenario, in my opinion, will be a 0-0. But if it gets bad, it could be easily 4 or 5. That's kind of my opinion of it. I'm sorry that that's not a really optimistic take, but I feel like I would be doing everyone a disservice if I just lied through my teeth and went, yeah, we're going to win 2-1. Because obviously we're going to, the idea that we keep a clean sheet is farcical in itself. But also if we put 11 men behind the ball and their entire job that whole game is to not put the ball in the back of our own net, I'm hoping that means we can come out with something. But City are also City, right? Is the other problem. You've got players across that entire team that can change games in the drop of a hat.
Their backup 11 is worth more than our entire squad. So,
and again, that alludes to what I was talking about yesterday, where this is precisely part of the problem, in my opinion, about the way that financial fair play rules are and the way that it is the gulf between the teams at the top and the bottom now. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a armchair pundit anyway, mate.
All right. Well, it's hard. This is hard for me.
Oh, is he going to do it? Is he going to predict the loss for the first time this season? Has it finally got to you?
Look, I'm feeling the least optimistic heading into this game. I have felt.
I'm so sorry, Greg.
I have got a feeling in my stomach. And the problem is the rest of the season I felt optimistic. So what this probably means is a 2-0 win.
You had me there. You had me thinking, oh, he's finally going to predict the loss. But no, you think that because you think we're going to... You're trying to reverse psychology through your prediction that we're going to beat Man City 2-0. Yeah. Where are 2 goals coming from to beat Man City?
One of them's going to bounce off of Paul's shin.
Right.
And one of them will come from Matty Fernandez. It'll be a
there we go.
goal.
Yeah, at least we're both in agreement that if a goal is to be scored, it deserves to be Matty Fernandez. So
yeah, look, I mean, let's face it. If Matty Fernandez scores against City at any point in the game, regardless of what happens the rest of the game, that stadium's going to be singing his name for the rest of the game. So
yeah,
that's
in what could be one of his last games for the club.
Look, we'll go 1-0 up in the 3rd minute, he'll score a header, and we'll probably get beat like 16-1. Like, Haaland will score a double hat-trick, and Kevin De Bruyne will, finish his farewell tour with some magic, but he'll be fine, because Matty's got his goal, and the party will be on.
But it's fine, because you actually predicted a 2-0. I heard you,
2-0
sneak
win.
that in there.
Yeah, 2-0 win. That is Look, when I've been feeling positive the rest of the year, it's not happened. So now I'm feeling rubbish about the game. It's got to be the only way it can play out. That's just how it rolls.
Interesting. We'll see what it. We'll see how that confidence does you on Sunday night, mate. Because if it doesn't work the other way around, you're gonna have to start coming up with new ideas to be able to predict wins.
That's fine, mate. Look, we've got plenty of excuses left in this season. We've got the last day at Goodison Park.
Yep.
And then anything can happen on the final day of the season, and then
it's the fact it's final day, and also Arsenal's revenge tour after being knocked out of the Champions League. So
yeah,
I knocked out the Champions League, not going to win the Premier League, not going to win anything else. So get mad? Question mark?
No, they'll just be on the beach. It'll be beach football. That's all it's going to be. Both teams fully mentally checked out with nothing to play for. It's pre-season in a nutshell, mate.
But mate, after this, there's only 2 games left, which then puts us on a small break for however many months, which I'm sure will fly by. However, a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
Well, I'm
sure we'll do like an end of season
review at my start of the season predictions and see how awful they were.
Oh, mate, for sure. You already had us predicting. Oh, well, obviously we'll beat these teams, and now it's like, can we even string 5 passes together in a row without?
Again, a gentle reminder, mate, that we are still not even at as many points as high as I put us in the table. So,
oh, mate, that's so sad. Oh, mate, being a Saints fan this year has been. I feel like if anyone comes out the other end of it, and we're all still fans, we're all still looking forward to the games next year. It shows you the endurance of man, in my opinion.
It's just character building. You got to have these low times to enjoy the highs.
Oh yeah, but
we've really earned some highs, right?
We really have. I can't wait for us to lose our entire listenership as we're celebrating 5-0 wins and we get bored of it. I wonder what that's like.
Well, we will find out. All right, well, that is just about all we've got time for today. As always, Zach, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks very much, mate.
Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Let us know your score predictions in the comments. Hit us up on all of the social medias. We're on all of them. Just any of them. We're there. We will be back on Monday, come what may. Be it a copy and paste episode about how we performed for 70 minutes and lost, or a surprising celebration as we predict my prediction comes true. We will see how that plays out, but we will be back then. But until then, have a great weekend, everyone.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Let's go 0-0 draw, baby!